Hello and welcome to the Parliament meeting taking place on March 15th, 2023.
Woo!
Itinerary to thank you. Sorry, I wasn't expecting standing ovation.
Sorry, yeah, we need to do some more clapping for this guy.
Our itinerary involves a discussion involving government spending, which isn't really a matter that pertains to Parliament, but members of the executive branch are here, so and we might as well get
Well,
Parliament's thoughts because this does directly affect them. So, government
it affects
spending, the
everyone
main
here,
thing
so.
is government pay is currently too high according to people.
Thanks, Yestro.
Yes, according to people. Looks.
I mean,
Hello.
yeah.
Hello.
Hud was the one that brought it up, and he wrote a letter to communicate it to the rest of government.
Are we reading that full last letter out loud?
I will
It's
be.
very long. Oh, best of luck to you.
Okay, well then if you're gonna read that whole thing out loud, I'm gonna make nuggets, so I'll still be able to hear you.
Fair enough.
He's cooking.
But this is
Dude,
just
literally.
for anyone
Session,
that
don't let
didn't get
that.
the chance to read it.
It's a
Basically,
microwave?
and this is also for the recording so that there's context.
Thank you.
So without further ado, I will detail exactly PUD's problem with the government spending at this point. After speaking with TZ Scion yesterday on March 14th, 2023, and I will just be reading it, so it's going to be like I and stuff, but this is from
Verbatim.
PUD's perspective. It was brought to my attention that each government worker is paid 5,632 merits per month. By itself, I already believe this amount to be too large for each member of the government to be receiving, at least with the current economy. And this issue is exacerbated by both the government merit stockpile and government income. To start, I believe that the pay for the government workers is too large to be fair for both the non-governmental citizens and the economy. Non-governmental citizens, such as myself, are only able to make money through businesses and selling to the government to make sure they have enough tax to own their own property and items they own within that property. Whilst this may not normally be an issue, there must be a good circulation of money for citizens without a job to be able to pay their taxes, which is a vital aspect of the economy, and this money can only come from businesses if the government wishes to make money. With money being given to people in the government or jobs, this money must be circulated to other citizens through businesses, which from my experience doesn't happen enough. Furthermore, the government is providing citizens with jobs with a large amount of money which is then not making back, as the total amount of merits given to citizens within the government in March 2023 was 39,424 merits, whilst within the same month the government was only able to make 24,072 merits from all areas combined, including the 5,501 merits the government spent on purchasing goods from citizens. The government spent a total of 44,925 merits in March 2023, but only made 24,072 merits, leading to a total loss of 20,853 merits in 1 month alone. Exacerbating this issue is the Melonian government's stockpile of merits, which currently sits at 22,603 merits. Knowing this, we can conclude that the government would only be able to sustain the economy for 1 more month before going into debt, almost all because of the absurdly large sum of money each government worker is given each month. Although the government may be able to make some more money next month from selling more items and properties, this will almost certainly still not be enough money for the government to be making money and could lead to further problems as the government may need to pay more citizens to help with the creation of new roads and properties, as well as possible new jobs in the government. To counter this issue, I have thought of various different changes the government could make that would help, if not remove, this issue. These solutions range from simple solutions that can be easily implemented to more complex solutions that would be fairer but would take more effort to put in place and monitor. Starting with the simplest solution, I propose that the government could decrease the pay that each member of the government is given each month to either 2,816 merits per month or 2,516 merits per month. If the government changed to 2,816 merits per month, This would be a decrease of 50% compared to the current amount, leading to a total of 19,712 mallets per month spent on governmental workers. Using the figures of March 2023, this would mean the total mallets spent by the government in that month would decrease from 44,925 mallets to 25,213 mallets, and the total revenue for the government would increase from negative 20,853 mallets to negative 1,141 mallets. This change alone would make the economy much more sustainable, but is unlikely to be a strong long-term solution as the government is still losing money. For a stronger long-term solution, I propose a change to 2,560 mallets per month for each government worker. This would be a change of 3,072 and was selected as it would be 40 mellings per month and is still a fair price for each worker to receive. This would lead to a total of 17,920 mallets per month spent on government workers. Using the figures of March 2023, this would mean the total mallets spent by the government in that month would decrease from 44,925 mallets to 23,421 mallets, and the total revenue for the government would increase from negative 20,853 mallets to 651 mallets, positive. This change alone would make the economy more stable than the previous suggestion, but could definitely be improved by either further decreasing the pay or implementing other solutions to help that the government would not be making much money back. For a more complex solution that would be fairer to government workers, I propose that government workers are paid based on their contribution to Malonia each week, except in cases such as illness or internet outage, where they would be unable to reasonably contribute to Malonia. If a worker doesn't log in for that week, they would get no pay for that week to encourage workers to log in. If a worker logs in but doesn't perform any government duties or doesn't spend much time on the server for that week, they would get reduced pay for that week to encourage workers to contribute to Malonia and its citizens. If a worker logs in and performs their duties or spends a meaningful amount of time on the server for that week, they would get normal pay for that week to encourage workers to contribute to Malonia and its citizens. If a worker logs in and goes above and beyond what is asked of them for that week, they would get their normal pay plus a bonus to encourage workers to contribute as much as possible to Malonia and its citizens. I believe that if these two solutions were put in place together, it would greatly benefit the economy, as it would not only stop the government from being put into debt, but would help to stimulate the economy more and make a more level playing field for citizens without a government job, as they would not be immediately priced out by those with a job. Thank you for your time and consideration, Bud. Now discuss.
It's perfect. Couldn't possibly imply everything all at once. I massively agree with this. There's no bias whatsoever.
It's like he wrote the bill.
Shush.
But yeah, there was some preliminary discussion where we were ironing out some other possible ideas, as well as how ideas like this would be implemented. Specifically the complex solution, because I think it would be a good idea to go for that.
Agreed.
What was that?
It's agreed.
Agreed.
I
Okay.
think the complex solution is really cool. That my only issue with it is how do we decide what is quote unquote active? Because someone like me, I'm not necessarily on the server all that much, but I do make some decisions offline that help overall. So I want to know how we could define active in the government, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And Calvin had some opposition to sort of a free subjective form of deciding activity. So I wonder if you have any ideas to determine what activity is like.
Problem is I don't want there to be effectively one person ruling over who gets paid how much at any given time. When I a responsibility for a, and so the moment that we change the pay, it's like what's going on there. The problem is that all of a sudden I'm no longer at I agreed to do this job at the pay given, and I'm completely fine with lowering it. However, I go from consistent pay to fluctuating based on somebody else's decision, and that power can very easily be abused. And so, if you're going to try to propose a complex solution, it needs to be crystal clear exactly what should be paid out to people. There should be no wiggle room, no misinterpretation. It should be outlined clear as day, impossible to argue, so that we're able to figure that out on our own.
I do agree with Carvin on this. If it's going to be using the complex solution, although it is fairer, it should be obvious as to what decides for no pay, reduced pay, normal pay, or a bonus pay. So, like, I was using vague terms because it was just me thinking and writing a letter for it. But if it's to be implemented, I would agree with Carvin that it should have exact definitions as to what determines each level of pay.
It shouldn't be the Minister of Finance's decision to go, oh, we're net red. I have to dock someone's pay for this month. I'm going to pick the person that's done the least, even though everyone in Parliament might have attended a Parliament meeting. I don't know. ISO Kamikaze might be docked pay. I'm picking him because he's not here. Cough, cough. Like, that doesn't exactly seem fair, especially if you fill the criteria that is agreed upon. And so if you have it built into the bill where it's non-negotiable, then there is no abuse of power that can happen there.
My
think the
issue
smarter-
is that
There has to be a minimum.
what
pay.
Calvin and Pud want for this system is fundamentally impossible.
How?
Well, here's
Explain.
the thing: is you don't base it like if you do poorly at your job in the real world. Say I put in 35 hours of work instead of 40. I don't get reduced pay. I get fired. So it's kind of expected of you to do your job, or else you're just going to be removed from government. And so, if we're going to dock pay and base it on a scaling metric, you should be not focusing on the work that the individual does, but rather the economy as a whole, base it off the government income. Why are we spending 200% of our income on paying our members of parliament and spending a ton of money on military and just going net red instead of basing it like 40% of our net revenue goes towards paying government, 30% goes towards military, 30% goes towards projects of the community. This is a lot bigger of a finance decision than we might think of at first glance.
Well, if we do it like a base percentages off of like what the government
Yeah.
gained, that would still be a fluctuating price.
Right, but it would be based. You're not just going to be randomly docked 50% of your pay. It's going to be more stable.
Additionally, there are
That's fair.
many systems in place to prevent abuse. There's
Yeah.
not only a vote of no confidence, but the president has the power to reverse anything that the ministers and the prime minister does.
I'd rather not give them the option to abuse it in the first place.
Could you, instead of having just the Minister of Finance dealing with who gets paid and how much they get paid, could you instead have that the Minister of Finance proposes a certain amount for every single member of the government, and then every member of the government looks at that and says whether they agree with that pay or not? Because then if everyone agrees that that pay is fair, then the Minister of Finance has done a good job, and if they don't agree, then the Minister of Finance has to revise the pay that they have proposed for each person.
That was what I was thinking.
Because then
Yeah.
there's no abuse of power because everyone agrees on the same thing.
The issue is, what if they don't come to an agreement on anything? And let's say the person who is like getting slightly got paid because they didn't do anything that week, and they're like, "No, I did my job," but they have literally done nothing, but they won't
Well-
agree to any pay in general. What's stopping them? That
You shouldn't
the
be allowed to
hierarchy-
decide on your own pay.
The decision there is the hierarchy of government says that the Minister of Finance would be more powerful than that member. So that member can whine all they want, but they won't be able to come to a compromise if they don't try.
That's fair.
And
My other
also,
question is, does every
that over
single
and
member
over
of
again
government
would
get-
likely be a liable impeachment of vote of no confidence.
That's fair. Question, by the way. Does every single job in the government pay the exact same?
Yes, currently.
Why?
Why? That's
Why?
what we decided at the time, and we found no issues with it.
Okay, I'd say that there's probably a difference between what Parliament does and what ministers do.
I would agree.
So shouldn't there be a difference in pay for what they do?
I agree with that.
I also agree with that.
Then that should probably be something that's implemented.
You would need to find a fair compromise for both parties,
Well,
though.
obviously. I mean, my other thing is ministers don't really have to get voted in by the public, but PMs do.
No, they don't.
Or
Ministers,
like what
the
Calvin?
prime minister is appointed like any other minister,
Well,
except
yeah.
it's the president that does it.
Yeah, I'm talking about not ministers. I'm talking about like members of the parliament
Oh
versus
yeah, MPs.
Yeah, MPs versus that there should be a price difference because one is voted in by the public, one is appointed by the people in charge already.
That makes more sense.
He'll have to see a specific bill before I give opinions on it.
This wouldn't be
Okay.
a bill.
Because like there's, I'll
It
have
would
to see
be-
it in writing first, is what it boils
Yeah.
down to. The
Yeah.
like I'm not against reducing pay. I'm not against having pay discrepancies against government workers, but I need to see what the plan is before giving an opinion on it. We're talking
That's fair.
strictly hypothetical right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which means if you have any ideas, please
awesome
let
now.
us know.
I'm gonna kick back and let y'all figure this out. I've got a villager farm to breed.
True.
Real?
Shut up, Sock.
For context, since I know you can't read chat, Asok said just like that Calvin's page just got Doc Flamel.
It's okay. I'll ask Melon to make me prime minister next season. Of Bologna.
Season?
All right.
Again,
Cons-
season. Wait,
Consensus on if pay should be decreased or not. Alvin?
Yes.
yeah, I.
Siestro?
What were you reducing to it to? I'm sorry.
I am asking
man
for
dissociated.
consensus on if pay should be decreased or not.
I think it should. I'm sorry. I was focused on other things.
You're good.
My man's playing his Nintendo Switch in the parliament.
Listen, I literally was doing English work in the.
Filibusting me like.
Consensus 2.
To
Pay should be
Why are you
lower
wrong?
for members of parliament compared to members of the executive branch. Calvin?
I don't know. I'm still undecided. Abstain.
I think if anything, that means we should just take more time into the idea of it to figure out what the differences would be. for
Siestro,
pay.
your consensus?
I'm not really too fond on the idea, I guess, because like I feel like president and prime minister should be paid more, but like the
Actually-
cabinet, I don't know.
I'm gonna say nay so we can return to the issue with a more of a fleshed out plan. 'Cause
Yeah.
abstaining here would just allow ISO to say yes to everything and
Nay.
push it through. Whoa.
These aren't making
again,
decisions.
it's
These are just
not a
gathering
bill.
consensus
Whoa.
because this is an executive
This is
branch
just
issue.
gaining ideas. This is nothing written down yet. This is like, should we pursue this idea?
Oh, and I'll stay abstained then. I'm indecisive. Call me Katy Perry.
I hate that reference, Calvin. God, yes,
Hope
and you're
Melon watches.
and then you're out.
I hope Helen watches this back. I really do.
God, that's funny.
Michael Mellon. Hello, Michael Mellon.
Hi, Mike. Yo, it's the guy in the hundo.
True.
Oh God, it's the Building Standards Act.
Oh God.
Why is that on the itinerary?
Because we're going to finally pass it.
Why is this on the
we're
itinerary?
gonna
Why isn't
finally
it like
look at it.
Bahamas
Finish it.
What if I push it to
Didn't we
referendum
finish
so
it?
it comes back next week?
next season?
You're gonna get
Next
paid
season.
if you do that, Calvin.
Next season, you've been playing way too much Fortnite, Calvin.
My God, I have been.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
I'm scatterbrained right now. I told you, overtime. It's
Okay.
hard, man.
Consensus. Government pay should be bound by specific
Oh.
rules.
Yes.
Like what Pug was suggesting?
Yes.
Like how it's like the
Like how active you are, and if you're doing more work than what is
yeah.
best for
I
you.
think that's a good idea. Yeah.
If you actually do your shit, you get paid properly, like the
with,
full amount.
with the bonus as well, that really
Well,
encourages
in
people.
quote, full amount that to be determined on whatever we put out flat rules.
That's
for. Yeah.
that's
Okay,
that's
CS2L consensus.
Oui.
Calvin, consensus on if government pay should fluctuate based on specific rules.
I'm gonna say yes, but I need to see the specific rules.
Well,
Those
obviously,
would be
yeah.
created and also agreed upon.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Because
Because this
I'm not
docking
dumb.
pay due to activity is
Like it.
kind of bullshit.
Yeah, I think me and Scion will probably be working on this, not just Scion.
It needs touched up because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, the MP's job is to show up to Parliament and vote on bills and introduce bills. And
Supposedly.
well, the
like you
the main thing is like
you don't even need to show up to
consider
every
the Minister
meeting.
of City Planning. It
Yeah.
would kind of be unfair to give money to him because his existence doesn't circulate the economy.
He should probably be kicked out as that minister, honestly.
Oh,
You are the
we
Prime
have it
Minister,
as
so you can discuss it.
I know.
Is that
Yeah, I'll discuss that later, though.
Balake?
the lock.
Balak.
Chain.
Has he even logged?
He's like a server admin though. That's really his, like the big.
I think he's like been on the server like once
I'm pretty sure Scion has made
since
more
I've seen.
plots of land than this man ever has.
Mm,
I'm throwing shade at everybody. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Mm.
Blake
I'm
was very
based.
important for the beginning of Bologna, but activity has been low.
Is he just like as busy as like a Michael or like a Owen, pretty much?
I'd probably
Higher up.
say slightly busier than Michael.
Mm. I think he's in college, if I'm not wrong. If I'm not mistaken.
Alright, is there anything else we need to go over with changing government pay that we need to get consensuses for?
Not currently.
Maybe
I don't think so.
what the specific rules should be?
I think that'll be more when we actually flesh out the ideas.
Well, I'd like to get an idea of what's not acceptable and what is acceptable.
Yeah, we're gonna definitely have to flesh out these ideas like sometime.
Like, I'm
in the
thinking
future.
if you don't log into the server or type a message in Discord for that week, then you don't get pay, or is that too much?
Well, again, the problem is sometimes I don't even do that, but I'm still making decisions with you. Let's say in like the boxes we see. Right.
I think if you can provide evidence of you doing a duty, then that would like be sufficient for at least some pay, even if it's reduced pay. It's evidence for some pay. So whether that's just logging in, or whether that's just providing a message, or whether that's providing like evidence, as Zogbol has just said, like in a different server, you've been doing something to help Melonia. If you can prove that you've been doing that, then I think you should get at least some pay.
Makes sense to
So,
me.
I mean, I guess, how would you get evidence for like a voice call without bringing up bank recording equipment?
Brings out a whole ass big microphone.
I mean, at that point, like, if you're doing it in a VC, right, you'd have someone else to confirm it.
Yeah. Although,
I mean, let's
maybe this is just a bigger issue where a lot of government decisions are being made not even in the Melonian server.
Haha, my bad.
Noxious.
It's not
You guys
like
hear anything?
half of the government is also in my
Mm.
Discord. Smiley face emoji.
You're too powerful,
Yeah.
Calvin.
I've definitely left my mark on the server already.
It's definitely not like this entire VC right now for this meeting is from the boxes or anything.
Don't say that, Oddball. Don't
We
say
could
that.
I'm not
genuinely be
wrong.
holding this in the boxes. And that's
So true.
awesome.
This
Oh
is
my
just like our
God.
normal VC layout. Like, come on.
Except Melonia.
That's fucking amazing.
Except Melon.
Ugh.
Official Melon.
All right, can we please pass the Building Standards Act so I can play Fortnite and go to bed?
Yeah.
Boss idea.
Priority.
Calvin, I'm currently working on all of the consensuses for
Oh
the
my!
government spending. Please be
You have
patient.
me for
think-
20 minutes, so I'm
That
a
should be
simple
enough.
man. I'm waking up
Scion
early
deserves
tomorrow.
a pay increase. Scion deserves a pay increase.
Calvin deserves those
I
paid
do
votes for trying to
agree with
avoid
that,
his
actually.
duties.
Go ahead, strike. I dare you. We don't have a union.
The amount of shit that Scion has to deal with from us, yes, I agree, actually.
We don't have labor rights.
Boom,
I'm gonna
boom.
implement a labor rights bill.
Oh God. Union regulated breaks. Oh no.
Okay, I thought of a way to get around that issue. Because we know that the boxes is where a lot of government members go to. If we just count that as a valid VC for them to be in, then they can receive their pay. Because another important part of being a government employee is your presence. You need to like be there so that any citizen can ask you a question. So those who don't join any VC at all are less valuable than those that do, even if it's not like an official Melonian VC.
I mean, you could also circumvent this by just having eyewitnesses say, "Hey, Calvin was on VC with me last night. We were
Playing
doing
Fortnite."
Melonia stuff." Ta-da!
Yeah.
And I can point to, I don't know, Oddball, and go, "Yeah,
Ah.
Oddball was there."
Another
Fact check with
thing
him.
is that I want this system to not require much from the government employees themselves. That it's only the Minister of Finance that has to do the hard work. So it would just require the Minister of Finance to verify that people have been in the VC. And considering that's me right now,
Hi me.
it's pretty easy for me to verify that.
I mean, considering you, like me, are in that VC all the damn time, yeah.
Although it's not sustainable for if anyone else is the Minister of Finance, I believe.
No, obviously, but that can be. Once we actually like write this down, we'll have things to write down for what happens if that isn't the case. Obviously,
Yeah. So, consensus on this whole idea of if you don't have any activity in the server or on Discord for over 7 days, then you are not awarded government pay. Calvin,
Unless, of course, sick or internet access.
let me include that.
No, it just is like, hey, we should mention that
Phrase
because
it
obviously we're not gonna make
as
people come in sick.
phrase it as like
someone
unfortunate circumstances or something.
likes to get
Yeah.
sick in here.
Like we can clarify that means sick, internet outage, working 60-hour weeks at work, other obligations in your life, that
Having
kind of thing.
exams.
Exams, yeah, study.
Yeah.
Finals week is always hell.
Vacation happened.
Yeah, if I'm on vacation, like, bro, don't dock my pay, please.
Like, I'm gonna be in Florida. Don't talk my pay.
I'm gonna say because it. Someone's
Yeah.
not here.
Yestro?
I don't want to vomit on call. Okay.
You can do it on me, sister.
Alright.
It's okay. I'm sat right next to you.
Alright.
It'll actually match my pants.
This is a good start, and I only have Calvin for 15 minutes, so for the sake of finally getting this passed, we're gonna temporarily move on to Bill 16.
Temporarily.
Yeah, because we're gonna go right back to government spending discussion, because we're not done just yet.
Complicated issue has more to say. Wow.
Alright, so
Whoa. Woo.
are we all here?
Hi.
No,
Hello, I'm here. I'm definitely a member of parliament.
By here, I mean on
I'm
the
never
document.
here. Oh,
Hi,
yeah.
everyone.
Fucking, no, I'm not. Hold on.
And by,
Man,
and by,
remember
and by
phone.
everyone, I mean the MPs.
Parliament. I know, but I like to be there too.
I'm an MP. Hi.
I'm not important.
Hi.
Either way, I will be
You
reading the
literally are.
contents of the
What do you
bill.
mean you're not important? You're fucking up my spending.
I'll take your money and then say I'm not
Money.
important. That's what I
Money,
do.
money, money.
Alright. Bill
As a
16,
no,
the Building
I-
Standards
I'd
Act,
say that
written
was-
on January 17th, 2023. Finally being passed on the 15th of March. This bill's purpose
Great
is
case
to
here, guys.
establish a set of building rules and guidelines to ensure safety and quality standard throughout the Republic. This bill is similar to the building code that existed in the city of Malonia, but is expanded and also establishes property permits to allow permission to be granted for specific violations of this bill. Every empty property must be properly marked with at least one solid block in each corner to show its exact boundaries. This must be enforced by the executive branch of the government and not by the citizens, and this clause does not apply if the property has been modified in any way by its owner. If the citizen requests it, they may have the executive branch create a property around their project. The executive branch may decline this request for any reason. Properties are required to maintain a distance of at least one block from all roads throughout the Republic of Malonia. In the borough of Agonia, properties are required to maintain a distance of at least 5 blocks from all roads. If a citizen alters or constructs on lands outside of the boundaries of their own properties for longer than 48 hours, they are liable to be arrested for griefing and subject to criminal jurisdiction. Properties extend vertically from the top of the wall to the bottom of the wall. So, property permit. Property owners may inquire the government to ask for a property permit. Property permits are documents that either alter or remove building standards for a particular property. Property permits must state which clauses of the Building Standards Act are to be altered or removed. In the case of alteration of a clause, the new restrictions must be clearly stated in the document. In the case of removal of a clause, the lack of restriction in that aspect must be clearly expressed in the document. Safety. Lighting requirements. All blocks capable of mob spawning inside the bounds of a property must have a light value of 1 or greater unless the property owner acquires a building permit allowing it. If there is an area inside the bounds of a property that is capable of mob spawning, the mob spawned in that area must be contained within that area.
Like a mob spawner.
Those two sections might need reworded a little. They
Yeah.
I'm just now realizing that the first clause says that you have to have everything 1 or greater, and the next clause says you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of contradicts itself.
So just a little bit of clarification there would be nice.
Well, what does this mean though? Because if we're requiring all properties to have like values of 1 or greater everywhere, except for on blocks that can't spawn mobs.
Say all accessible blocks or something to that extent.
It already says
there's,
all
like,
blocks
all-
capable of mob spawning.
Yeah, but like you want to specify that you're referring to blocks that can lead out to the streets, for example. You want it to specify that like if you have a cave under your property, you don't need to light that up, but if you have a dark room in your basement, then you probably should have that lit up. So
I'm not
if you
understanding.
add a phrase to clause 2 saying there may be exceptions to Article 3 clause 1 in the case that there is an area inside the bounds of a property that something to that extent where it's like there is an exception that must be contained.
I feel
For, like
this.
caves and shit below.
I feel this part completely makes that redundant.
Well, no, because the exception is built into the bill.
Either way, we don't want like mob spawning in properties.
Well, the question is, right? How do you define a property? Do you define it as everything underneath the property? Because we get down to bedrock now. Or how is that defined exactly? Because we're saying like if there's a cave underneath, you're not going to go dig to bedrock to light every cave underneath your area.
Bet. I'm the only person that can say that right now.
No, you would. We other people, normal people, would not.
That's about to be a brand new business of mine. Digging straight to bedrock for you. Lighting up your cave so you can follow the safety rule.
Psycho.
No.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
What about a roof? Because I don't think the roof of my house or my shops are lit up, and they lead to the street. Technically, mobs can fall from the roof to the street,
I believe
and they can
I
definitely spawn on the blocks.
I believe I lit yours up.
Oh, thank you.
Government man.
Yeah. So areas like that need to be lighted up just in case,
It's lit.
because we don't want an accidental mob farm.
Yeah, that's understandable. Thank you.
Okay, so how is this change? All blocks capable of mob spawning in accessible areas inside the bounds of a property must have a light value of 1 or greater unless the property owner acquires a building permit allowing it.
That makes sense to me.
That's the same thing. Oh no, all blocks capable.
Yeah.
In accessible
makes sense.
areas, which means caves are excluded.
Ah, there you are.
Yeah. Accessible
fine.
areas. So yeah,
There it
that's
is.
perfect. That does a lot better for what we were thinking of.
And that removes the need for clause 2.
Clause 2 was
Making
for
it simpler.
redstone. Clause 2 was for redstone. There
Yeah.
are some contraptions where you cannot prevent that.
You
At the
can't
same
prevent,
time,
like,
at this point, just get a building permit.
Exactly.
yeah, no,
I'm like
genuinely.
itching to kill a dragon, so I might put a headset on, put some headphones on my phone, and go kill the dragon.
The entirety of the area within a property boundary must be in the range of a lightning rod on top of 2 or more iron bars. This does not dictate that your property must have a lightning rod on its premises, as surrounding properties may be able to envelop your property in the range of their lightning rods. Lightning rods may not be within 2 blocks distance of any flammable material, and 128 blocks spherical diameter for the lightning rods. Okay. For these aesthetic standards, I'll just break down what it means essentially, so we have less reading to go through.
Okay.
Building depth. Half a block of depth is required unless you get a property permit.
Glass panes.
Yeah, exactly.
Stairs.
Stairs.
Or stairs, yeah.
A door on the inside of the house instead of the outside.
Would that count?
Yes.
I think it counts.
Okay, fair enough.
Should it? Debatable, but it will.
It would count, yeah, no.
Building material variety. Every different block in the game would count. And you need 4 different ones on the exterior only.
Woo.
I still say I should do my anvil idea.
Buildings may not be over 25 blocks tall, excluding any exclusions. Like lightning rods, antennas, stuff like that. Unless it's an industrial property, or you get a permit.
Cool.
Quick question. The permits, do they cost mellets to get, or do they just,
They
like,
do
you
not-
ask and you get it?
They will never cost mellets to get.
Okay. Just curious.
That would be so unfair.
Yeah. That's why I asked.
I am considering, unless it is an industrial or public property, that I'm considering that
For
the
for
height
what?
for the height restriction.
I mean, yeah, that still works.
Because I feel a lot of public properties, because we don't have too many, but a lot of public properties are gonna be tall to allow for the public to utilize it to its fullest extent.
Yeah.
So zoning restrictions, there's a tier list of zones, and that determines which restrictions win out if there are any conflicts. The executive branch of the government shall have the right to make any changes or additions to regulations for each property on a case-by-case basis, as long as the property owner is made fully aware of the unique regulations that affect their property. Residential properties may have a small-scale crop and animal farms to provide for their owners. If it's too large, it has to be rezoned. Commercial properties only belong to companies or organizations. Redstone farms are not permitted on agricultural zones unless they just deal in crops and animals and stuff. And then ideally cover them by an exterior building. Or not ideally, but must. Unsafe areas in industrial zones must be labeled or otherwise marked. Executive branch reserves the right to suggest or demand changes to industrial properties that do not affect any automatic farms or mechanisms, but otherwise increase safety. Public zones, players must not be restricted from entering the property. The whole property doesn't need to be public. There may be some private areas, but as long as it's not excessive privatization of the public property. Builds designed to resemble real-life military weapons or vehicles, only on military zones. Once a property has been zoned historical, no changes can be made to it unless the executive branch determines that they must for the sake of safety. Miscellaneous properties will have unique restrictions placed on them on a case-by-case basis by the executive branch. Alright, so discuss.
Yeah, this all seems fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that sounds correct. We changed the only thing that made no sense.
With that in
I think
mind,
that works for me.
this vote is for enacting this bill into law. Siestro, your vote.
Aye.
Calvin, your vote.
I
Where did conflict go?
Alright, you can
Durgan.
sign.
This
Oh
ain't the
shit, we're
fun. What the
signing.
fuck? There we go.
Ow, ow.
Cubed. Be there or be cubed. What the fuck?
What?
He changed up his font. What the hell is that? What the balls?
Now, Calvin, right before you go, I would like consensus on whether or not to light this out as a full-fledged bill. Bill 22, the Trademark Act.
Talk's giving me a look.
Sock was the one that suggested this bill.
That makes sense.
Now, would we like to discuss what it means before we vote on it?
Yes. So, we don't
So-
have details fully realized because I first of all wanted to get the Parliament's opinion on whether or not I should even continue lighting this.
Hi, Parliament. Money.
Money.
But yeah, the Trademark Act would give legal protection to the designs of citizen buildings. So this would prevent people from building one-to-one copies of other people's buildings.
How you say money in Melodic?
Nicolin.
Seekalin.
I would
Anyway.
just like to add real fast that the intention is like an asterisk without permission. This is to protect people for stolen ideas.
Well, but my thing is, what do you mean by stolen ideas? Like, how do you define a stolen idea?
If you take someone's idea without asking, so like, let's just say, for
Yeah.
example, you went to Crystal's house. Hey, your floor pattern's really cool. Can I copy it? Crystal says, no, you do it anyway. He has the right to sue you under the law.
Okay.
Is like the idea behind it. If he says yes, go for it. Like, you can bake a tree. I don't care. That kind of thing.
Yeah, this would just give the courts the ability to make a ruling.
But like,
Yeah. Like, my thing is, like, for the example of, like, the tree, right? Is that, like, it might be a different style of tree, so it'd probably be, like, not exactly copying, but if you considered copying, like, hey, I had the idea for a tree, period, you can't do that.
Right.
That
But
doesn't make
you
any
asked
sense
me
to
for
me.
permission. I said you can make a
Yeah.
tree, but if it's a floating tree, I'm not okay.
Well, yeah,
So
no,
that's kind of, again, it's all
that is
the,
obviously not my idea. That's a floating tree. I would never make a floating tree.
and that's what I want protected. So it's all kind of a circle. Sorry, Scion.
Keep discussing.
I mean,
I just don't
you don't.
like. I understand why, but at the same time, I don't. If that makes sense.
It's fair.
You don't
Like,
own
it's
the
just
building design
weird.
when you build it. Is the problem?
Yeah.
Sure, you shouldn't just copy someone else's design. That seems to be a dick move. But like, if you build a floating tree and someone else builds a floating tree, they're not going to be the same design.
Yeah. Unless somehow it is, in which case, sure. But
Right? that would be a
like, if it
very
is
odd
literally
build
a
to.
one-to-one copy, it's like, how the hell?
Yeah, if you build a one-to-one copy, what the fuck you doing? But like, say I
guess
build an
I'm-
iron
If, like,
farm. This
take
iron farm
inspiration.
design is now my intellectual property. No one else can build this iron farm except for me.
Yeah,
But it's the
within the
most
realm of the
efficient
server
iron
without
farm.
permission.
Right, like,
The thing is, right, it's the most efficient iron farm that everybody can just find online. It wasn't even the person who made the iron farm original design, period.
Right. He brought
Outside
it to the
alone.
right, but I
server.
brought it to the server, therefore it's my design, intellectual property, trademark. Don't touch it. You're not allowed to
Yeah.
build it.
It also
So-
instigates the this also prevents people from just making Malonia a giant bunch of dupes. We don't need 3 of the same iron farm.
I mean,
We do not
always
need
nice to have
Studians.
multiple iron farms.
Well, like
I don't
my
know.
other thing, right, is that like creativity is also based off of inspiration that you find in other people's work. Like that's a big thing in art. Like you take like the styles and stuff from art, but you make your own stuff with it. Just because I see like a tree and I make another tree doesn't mean I'm copying you. It's just gave me inspiration to make it something similar. If that makes sense.
Right. And the key here is, again, I'm okay with it.
Okay, but let's say you're not. Then
Then this
why should
bill
that
would
be
be
upheld
in
in
place
law? Is the question.
because, I mean, I'm not really holding anything back here. If someone were to, like, let's say, make a mushroom bakery, I would stop hanging out in the server because that's just blatant disrespect.
Okay, that's fair. Like that, but like I'm talking like general ideas like a treehouse. Not everyone is going like there's not just going to be one person who has that idea, is what I'm saying, right? So I don't fully understand how you would even implement it into a law to begin with.
Yeah, and that's kind of what Scion's here for because he said he wanted to write it.
I just don't understand how it would work. Period is my problem.
What you brought up there were two separate things. You brought up the business and you brought up the like the design of your personal house.
Because it's all under
Yeah.
intellectual property
But
in
like
terms of a design.
but like if you say that you're not just straight up allowed to have a bakery because somebody else on the server has a bakery, that
That's not what I
seems
said.
a little silly.
No, she said a specifically like mushroom themed bakery.
Right, alright. I make a bakery with everything that Sock has in hers. Is that still protected under this?
Yes.
Okay. Just making sure.
Like, that's what Odd was saying, is that he was kind of opposed to it in the beginning because a gunpowder farm, like let's say Siestro's gunpowder farm, is the best design on the market, that me making this or suggesting this bill would allow him to dominate the market. And that's not what I'm saying. It's that there aren't 4 dupes just because he privatized his farm.
Lucky for you, I'm not planning on privatizing it.
Could it also be looked at on a like case by case basis? So one person notices that yes, this looks to be too similar or a copy of this other thing, and then they bring that to the attention of both members who are involved within the build, and then they discuss it, and then from there it could possibly go to Parliament to discuss the possibility of it being a stealing of intellectual property.
I guess
First
my
of
whole
all,
thought,
it would go to the judicial branch, not the legislative branch.
Yeah.
I guess when I was thinking of it, I wasn't thinking of it like the Building Standardization Act. Like, I don't want this to be something that is like an overarching rule of builds in Malonia. It's more, if something happens, I want to be protected. It may never happen. I just want something in writing somewhere to protect everyone's intellectual designs because I've seen incredibly creative things on the server. And
Yeah.
I think that there
like,
should be an, oh, that's cool, not an, oh, I want that too.
Well, again, my thing is, right, a lot of the builds around here, for example, Pud's Potions, right? That gives me inspiration to be like, this hopper system is an amazing idea. If I use or incorporate it in somehow different way, or if I use like a hopper system, does that mean he has intellectual property for a hopper system? Because that's just a standardized system.
Say for receiving money, yeah, he
as
does.
Speaker of Parliament, since we do not have any appointed judges, how I would rule in that case is that a hopper system is too simple to be considered intellectual property.
I would agree with that. Even if you're looking at my own hopper system, the hopper system itself isn't that like creative. It's just some cauldrons and some hoppers But
yeah,
if
no,
it
it is
was,
a very basic one. I looked at the insides of it because I was curious how you built it.
yeah,
But-
that's fine.
But yeah,
But if you're like
But,
copying
like,
like the
For
entire
example,
this
the
law
entire
should
layout
not
of-
specifically rule out like copying. It should specifically allow judges to decide whether things are copying or not.
If there's an issue.
And if there's an issue, it would be filed in a lawsuit for the judge to look at.
Just because if someone is upset about a design conflict without a law, then it just looks like they're an asshole. Sorry for swearing at the government meeting.
no, you're fine. We do that sometimes.
Never.
It's fun. It's on record.
So, opinion of the MPs on this?
Eh.
Mm. Eh.
I'll have. I'm not completely sold.
MP Siestro?
I'm not really thrilled.
Alright.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure if there's anything else to add to that, because the concern is copying ideas that you've had for builds, but by restricting your ability to build things, you are like limiting creativity. So I would have to see exactly how. Like, I'm not against the idea, but I would have to see what the bill clarifies before making a decision.
Siestro?
I don't know.
Alright. In that case, let's move to a measure for me to fully like this bill. Alvin, your vote?
I go for it. If you shoot me like an outline of what you want to write, I can give you more in-depth criticism, though.
Okay. Siestro?
No one's really stopping you from writing it. You're a member of government.
Yes, but also there is an issue
Right.
of effort.
I think I add more clarification to the problem. Yeah.
Like
And
this week I'm
If it's good
currently
in practice.
taking to focus on Plants vs. Zombies speedrunning, so if like if this measure like doesn't pass, then that will give me more time to do that.
I mean, I'm not. I wasn't really. I'm not really the biggest fan of it. I mean, I see the point, but I feel like it's gonna be very hard to implement. I guess like it's
I
gonna
feel
be
like
up
I'd
to,
have to see an example for
It's
this
gonna be like-
to be. Like,
it's gonna be like
Yeah.
the U.S.
really
copyright
understand.
law. That's what it's gonna end up like. I feel like, where it's like very ambiguous.
Right. I've expressed a lot of concerns this meeting about being arbitrary and having something be subjective or not.
I think there's
And so
also
this
a
would also
misunderstanding
fall
for
into-
like
fall into
what
that.
happens if you violate this bill.
I don't
Like I think
know.
the idea that the MPs have is that once you violate this bill, your building has to be destroyed. But what could be
That's
done
not-
instead is just paying mallets and damages.
Not really what I was
Images.
thinking of what was happening. It was just, I think,
Because we were mentioning how this limits creativity, even though it doesn't really limit anything, it just gives credit to the original builder.
I think it's a very weird concept though in a Minecraft server. It's I don't know.
So,
Uh,
shit, remind me what the votes are for lighting this bill. Calvin?
I'm gonna say yes, but shoot me an outline first, so I can
He's
give more
not
specific
shooting.
feedback.
I like a rough
Thumbs can get
draft.
shot.
I don't need a rough draft. I need like a bullet point list of the things you want to include in them.
Yeah,
in
I
the
would like.
bill.
How it works
I
and
wouldn't.
functions.
I wouldn't mind that myself.
Yes, sure, your vote?
Dude, can I get the like what Calvin said? I think that would actually be pretty decent. If you don't
Yeah,
mind.
shoot us an outline so we understand better. You know, I think it's worth your time to at least give us a draft of what you would what you're proposing here.
Okay.
Because clearly neither of us are 100% sure what the like point of the bill would be, or like what it would accomplish, or like the nitty gritty specifics that we all have all dealt with. Like if you look at the previous meetings when we went through the building act, we like tore it apart limb by limb multiple times for funsies
We
actually.
did.
So it'll be a lot better of a bill if we actually have input on it while it's being written.
Alright. So, Siestro, you didn't give a clear vote?
I didn't give a clear vote. I don't know.
I believe he said work on it, and then we'll see.
Is
Yeah.
that an
Much
aye?
like how I would take that as an eye.
I suppose.
Okay.
I said I in the sense. Ha ha ha. Fuck.
It's okay, yeah, sure, I'm here for you.
We've gone so long without swearing,
God, it's
and then
funny.
Sock opened the floodgate.
You're not innocent here either, Calvin.
What are you fucking talking about?
I think this is one of me is getting off topic.
Do we
I
officially
agree. I
have
think-
eyes for
Well, only
like,
two
recorded.
because Iso Kamikaze would need to put in votes.
That's a majority.
beautiful?
That's the majority, technically, so it's fine.
It is a majority, but it's still
Is that
kind of
all?
wrong to deny him the ability to vote.
A voice is a
absolutely.
voice.
Is that all of our discussion points for today?
I believe so,
Uh,
yes.
We never circled back
Unless
to
there's
discussing
something else?
government spending.
Oh my.
I want to play Fortnite.
No, can we? I thought we already finished that, though.
How do we determine how people get bonuses though?
I think, honestly, I don't know if the bonuses should be a thing. Because we're so close to the red anyway, we should worry about bonuses later.
I think maybe
Oh.
once when we have the
So we should
Have
give
a- We have
the
ourselves the
main-
ability to give bonuses in the future, but not now, which is important.
Yes.
I
I,
like it.
I think right now we need to worry about the main part of this and not worry about the tiny specs that can be added later about bonuses and shit.
So,
Quick
like I was
question,
saying
do we-
earlier, the Minister of Finance should have more freedom on how the government is paid, so that they can actually make adjustments on the fly whenever things need to be changed. But also not to the point where it's abusive, which is a difficult
Yeah, I
balance.
think that we just need to write down what the idea is and then see what we all think of it is what we need to do. Kind of like a bill, but obviously it's not a bill because it's weird. But yeah,
Maybe an executive order.
Send me a draft.
I guess. Just give us next meeting or something. Give us an outline of what we're thinking, so we can think about it better. To be like, hey, what's going on?
Next Parliament
like the
meeting
idea.
might be too late because a Friday would pass. So that would be a little. That would be like the normal pay one more time.
Okay.
So ideally, we get an idea before Friday, so that by
That's
Friday
giving
we
us-
can pay people the half price at least.
That's literally giving us like 2 days.
Well,
Because
it is kind of unfortunate timing, but ideally we fix the economy as fast as possible before more money is spent.
Yes.
I was gonna
as
ask
much as
about
I agree with that, I don't want a rushed thing because rushed things lead to more issues in the future.
I was gonna
How
ask
about
about like,
a rushed
you know,
thing with opportunity for change? A temporary solution
As long
before
as
the
it can be
permanent
changed
solution.
later. I mean, to be fair, we all agreed on our costs like going down to like half. We maybe just need to figure out what that half is right
Yeah,
now.
we never agreed what exactly
then
the
worry
price
about
would
that?
be.
Yeah, let's worry about that right now, and then we can worry about the rest of everything later.
Yeah. For now, we can probably just stick to a half and then change it depending on
Yeah,
factors.
I don't think 1 week will change much for how much that will be.
Yeah.
You know, like, am I wrong on any of this, Siestro or Calvin?
I am off the clock. I'm playing Fortnite.
not wrong.
There is no clock.
Too late. I'm
There
off.
is no clock.
Like, Calvin is off.
I'm
Although,
here because none
Meeting
of my friends are
adjourned.
moving to the boxes yet.
because they're
I'm
in
getting
Parliament.
Fortnite open. Shut up.
Okay, I feel my control over Parliament is slipping. I'll
I wonder why.
Measure-
I wonder why.
measure to adjourn this meeting.
I
Aye.
I
Alright. Meeting
That was the
adjourned.
most enthusiastic